went back, though, and my military experience took me to Afghanistan, Kosovo, Bosnia, Macedonia, and many other missions for the military in between. I trained and fought alongside the British Special Air Service. These formative years opened my eyes to the values, hard work, decisiveness, character that I hold dear, both as an individual and as a mental trainer. After retiring from the military, I needed a different kind of challenge, so I decided to enter the world of business, which of course has its own kind of battlefields and war zones. Armed with a master's degree from the Norwegian School of Economics and Business Administration, I worked in finance and for a company that specialized in recruitment and management development. It was during that stage of my career that I witnessed firsthand the career frustrations that so many people experience on a daily basis. More often than not, it was obvious that they were holding themselves back, not anyone else. What's more, they seemed to understand this. There was the corporate manager who knew that he needed to be more structured with his job. He knew he had to plan more efficiently for meetings with his staff, to articulate ideas more clearly to clients, and to impress his own superiors with a more convincing semblance of order or control. With all those shortcomings, it's a wonder he managed to hold on to his job. Though corporations often tolerate mediocrity, at least until it catches up with them and the whole operation comes crashing down. I met many people in similar situations during those early years in the business world. I've always hung around athletes, and I started to become aware of the same thing there, even at the highest levels, where you'd expect more discipline and commitment. Instead of sticking to a healthy diet, these guys would cheat with pizza or burgers and fries. Instead of getting that much-needed nap in the afternoon, they'd spend the time surfing the internet. Just like the middling corporate manager, the underachieving athletes I mixed with recognized the error of their ways. They just couldn't break away from the bad habits. Even when they had the know-how and the resources to do better, they chose the path of least resistance. Then there were the exceptions, the winners and the overachievers and the leaders of their fields. Perhaps owing to the fact that I was a pretty late bloomer in life, I've always been curious about these people. How do they differ from the rest of us? How do they find the resolve to plan for every meeting or competition and resist every temptation? Why do they win, exactly? I began to work on these questions more systematically. I found that the distinctions between the winners and the rest of us are surprisingly small. Those who perform at the highest level have one thing in common. They pay attention to detail. They develop exceptional habits where others settle for the norm. They are better at making more of the small, positive decisions in their everyday life. The sum of all these choices may not make a difference on a daily basis, but over time, weeks, months, years, the effect is enormous. Since this practice has nothing to do with being born with the right skills, everybody has this opportunity dormant within them. It isn't a question of talent, it's a question of choice. With that revelation, I knew that I had found my calling. This is what mental training is all about, adjusting your habits today in order to achieve great changes in your future performance over time, and being prepared for situations where you need to perform at the highest level. I have enormous faith in our ability to lead ever better and even perfect lives. At the very least, we're able to constantly strive for that level of perfection, or self-actualization, as it's sometimes called. As I made the move into mental training, this became my mission, to help others get really good at living their lives. Of course, this looks different depending on the individual. For some, the goal is to perform at the highest possible level in a variety of arenas, including the work and family spheres. For others, including top athletes, it means achieving excellence at just one thing. Either way, the process for getting there is the same. It's all about making the key changes. But how? That was the next question I considered. How do I convince people of their capacity to change? How do I get them to discover their best selves? That's when I came back to Hell Week. Any time I get together with ex-military people, whether guys I served with or total strangers, at some point the conversation turns to Hell Week. Everyone who goes through the experience carries it with them for the rest of their lives. They talk about specific instances from the week with exacting detail. Often it has to do with the breaking point that they went right up to, but somehow managed to resist. Decades later, the resilience they discovered during that moment of extreme adversity is still core to their being. In short, the lessons of Hell Week last a lifetime. That's certainly true for me. As I thought more deeply about the struggle,